Hi, I'm Kiki Archer and this is my new novel, When You Know. It's the sequel to my best-selling lesbian fiction novel, One Foot Onto the Ice, that was out last year. When You Know's out now, so you can go over to Amazon or iTunes or Lulu, wherever you buy my books from, and you can take a look. Or you can stay here and listen to me reading the first chapter. So, When You Know by Kiki Archer, Chapter 1. There's a fine line between perception and paranoia. Susan frowned. Who said that? Jenna nodded. I did. No, I mean, where's the quote from? Jenna puffed up proudly and smiled. Actually, it's mine. I invented it and I even Googled it once to make sure no one said it before. Susan laughed. I'm sure someone said it before. No, they haven't. It's mine and I'm claiming it. And I think it perfectly sums up what we're about to go through. Susan lifted her head and looked around the busy airport terminal. Departures? No, said Jenna. I'm talking about your perception versus your paranoia. You're paranoid that I'm going to run off with some ski girl or barmaid or chairlift operator or Amber, added Susan, only half joking. Jenna shook her head and shunted her hold-all forwards with her feet, moving fractionally closer to the busy check-in desk, aware that their queue had to snake around another 4 corners before they got anywhere near the front. See, you're paranoid I'm going to start something with Amber again. And I understand why. Your paranoia is based on your perception that I sleep around. It's not a perception, Jenna, it's a fact. And I'm not trying to be mean here. And I'm actually not worried you'll sleep around. But you two have history. I'm worried you'll sleep with her. Amber wants you. And not so long ago you wanted her too. Susan took a sharp intake of breath. Against the bar, on the bar, between her legs. Jenna pressed her finger onto Susan's lips. Shh, Susan, please, just shush. You're the one I love. You're the one I want. You're the one I can't stop thinking about. You're the one who's given me the most memorable 2 weeks ever. I'm 100% sure of everything. Susan looked into Jenna's deep brown eyes and sighed. I want to believe you. Trust me, I do. The finger was back, but Susan continued to talk. I'm just a realist. Sorry, no, you're muffled. I can't hear you. Jenna raised her eyebrows. If I remove this finger, will you listen? Just listen. Susan noticed the gap in the queue that had appeared in front of them. Fine, she said, sucking her lips and bringing them back to life. We need to move forwards anyway. Jenna stayed still. You're the love of my life, and I'm not going anywhere. Yes, you are. You're going to Morzine for the next 3 months. Jenna stepped in front of Susan and took hold of her shoulders. Yes, to finish the season, my last season. She shook her gently. I'm choosing you, Susan. I'm choosing us. Susan pulled her left arm free and checked her watch. She exhaled heavily and looked around at the crowded queue of holidaymakers. Most were already wearing their big ski jackets and padded moon boots, eagerly anticipating their time in the snow. You'll be gone for 3 months. She'll be there, as will all of your other lady-loving ski reps. I won't. Paranoia, paranoia, paranoia. Maybe you're right, but it's not paranoia. I'm just worried. It's a tiny, niggling doubt in the back of my mind based on the things I've seen and the things you've told me. There's a fine line between perception and paranoia. Yes, I get it. Great quote. Jenna grinned. I'm teasing you, Susan. I've changed. You've changed me. There's no way I'd ever jeopardise what we've got. Susan took another small step forwards and waited for the latest loud echoing airport announcement to stop. She checked her watch once more. And what have we got? Jenna frowned. We've got a blossoming relationship. We've got a shared desire to make this work. We've got love, haven't we? Susan sighed. It's been 2 weeks in total. Maybe this whirlwind's blinded us. Maybe we should just use this time to step back from the whole situation and try and figure out what's going on. Maybe... Whoa, whoa, whoa! Jenna shook her head. Stop! Where's this coming from? Susan was about to reply when she felt a sharp bang on the back of her heel. Ow! She gasped, looking down and realising the noisy family from behind had once again slid their skis too far forwards in the queue. Sorry, said the man, stepping over his family's mound of luggage and bending down to retrieve the long bag. He stood back up, totally hot and bothered, all trussed up in his ski suit and hat. "Bloody check-in always takes too long. The wife told me to travel in my ski gear. She said there wasn't enough room in the suitcase for all of this padded stuff." He looked down at Jenna's small piece of hand luggage. "More zine?" he asked with a frown. Jenna nodded. "I'm a ski rep. I've had a week off. I'm flying back out to finish the season." The man stepped in closer, desperate for a break from his overexcitable children and constantly complaining wife. "Sisters?" "Yes," said Susan. "No," said Jenna at exactly the same time. Jenna looked at Susan and frowned. "You're my girlfriend." Susan blushed. "Sorry, I wasn't thinking." She coughed and lowered her voice. "But we don't really need to announce it over the tannoy, do we?" "Girlfriends, eh? You're brave, love," said the man, directing his attention to Susan. "Letting her loose on the slopes. Haven't you seen that programme, Snow, Sex and Suspicious Parents? It's always the ski reps who end up getting off with those young kids." He grinned at Jenna, but hey, what happens on the slopes stays on the slopes, right? He nodded his head backwards. "I used to have a real life before my wife came along and put a dampener on things." Jenna couldn't avoid focusing on his perspiring red cheeks. "It's my last season. I'm moving back in April and I'm retraining as a teacher." "If you get accepted," added Susan. "What? What is this?" asked Jenna, completely confused. "Carl!" The shout was loud. "Would you please get the passports out? We are nearly at the front of the queue." The man looked at Susan and Jenna and rolled his eyes. "She always does this, makes me stand in this bloody queue with my bloody ski stuff on, holding all of the bloody documents well before we even reach the bloody check-in desk. Carl, it's moving. Would you please get the documents out and the passports? And we've reserved our seats, so you'll need that evidence too. Jackie's having a meal on the plane and she's asked for the vegetarian dish, so we'll need to show them the paperwork for that as well." The man lifted his woolly hat and wiped his forehead. "Yes, darling," he said, forcing his smile. Jenna watched him clamber back over the piles of luggage before turning to Susan and shaking her head. "Sisters, we don't need to tell strangers our business. We're a couple, Susan. I'm proud to call you mine." Susan pushed Jenna's bag with the inside of her foot, rounding the final corner. "I don't want to force you into anything. Hey, I flew over here of my own accord to give you that ridiculously expensive thimble for your really rather cute thimble collection because I love you." Susan shrugged. "It's been 2 weeks. Yes, and when you know, you know. I know you've got 3 months of temptation ahead of you." Jenna shook her head. "Susan, what is this? Should I take offence or are you having doubts?" "I'm just trying to be realistic." "Why haven't you mentioned this before? Why leave it to the last minute?" Jenna dropped her eyes to her hold-all. "Fine, you go off and play the field. Let's see where we're at when I get back." "Is that what you want?" "No," said Jenna, "but it's sounding like you do." She looked at the group of young men who were being called to check in, obviously off on some sort of skiing stag do and already rather merry. "We're checking in next and we've still got some time for a coffee. We need to get this sorted, Susan. We need to know the rules." "So you do want flexibility then? You do want your final few months of freedom?" Jenna shook her head even harder. "No, Susan, I want you." "Next!" The shout was high-pitched and official. Jenna picked up her hand luggage, feeling incredibly flustered, wondering where on earth Susan's outburst had come from. She tried to smile at the dolled-up check-in lady, but failed. "I've only got 1 piece of hand luggage," she said with distraction. "Flying to Morzine?" Jenna took her eyes off Susan and nodded. "Yes." The lady looked at both women. "Flying alone?" "Yes." Jenna reached into her jacket pocket for her documents. "Did you pack your own bag?" "Yes," nodded Jenna, handing over her passport. "Would you like me to check the weight of your hand luggage?" "No, it's fine. I only flew over last week." "We have a strict weight restriction of 5 kilograms for hand luggage." "It's fine. I always use this bag." "You haven't bought anything or added to your luggage while you've been over here?" "No." The lady handed Jenna's documents back to her and pressed the button to print out the boarding card. "Departures are to the left." Susan angled her body away from the check-in lady and widened her eyes at Jenna. "The things," she mouthed. Jenna frowned and mouthed back. What? Susan whispered. In your bag. The things we bought. Maybe you should get it weighed. You don't want them opening your bag at departures. The check-in lady tore the boarding card from the printer but didn't hand it over. Everything okay? Yes, said Jenna, suddenly catching on. Actually, I'd like you to weigh my bag, please. Did you pack it yourself? Asked the lady, staring at Jenna, then Susan, then back at Jenna again. Yes, nodded Jenna, lifting it onto the belt. The lady pressed a button and tapped a long nail on the top of the digital screen, which was flickering between 5.0 and 5.1. You're 0.1 of a kilogram over. Hardly, said Jenna, watching the numbers come to a final standstill. It'll be okay, won't it? The lady pursed her red lips. We have a strict 5 kilogram limit on hand luggage. There's a £40 charge if you want to increase your allowance. She tapped the screen again. 5.1. What? That's outrageous. Company policy. My ticket didn't cost much more than that. Exactly, announced the lady with authority. The airline has a right to recoup its generosity. Susan stepped in. It's fine. Let's go for a coffee and we'll sort through your bag. I'll keep hold of some things if necessary. No, I need everything. I only brought the bare essentials with me. Susan widened her eyes again. I'm sure there are a couple of things I can take. Did you pack your own bag, madam? Asked the lady once more. Yes, it's fine. I'll get it sorted before I go through to departures. You'll only get sent back here to the back of this queue to purchase additional allowance. Is there anything in your luggage I need to know about? She looked Susan up and down. Has this lady asked you to carry something on board? Do I need to call security? No, of course not. Would you mind opening your bag for me, please, madam? No, it's fine. We'll sort it out. Madam, open your bag, please. Fine, said Jenna, unzipping the worn hold-all. She rummaged around and pulled out 2 items. Susan, could you hold these, please? Susan gasped as the 2 different-shaped dildos were thrust into her hands. Jenna! There, said Jenna, watching the numbers flash on the screen. Under 5 kilograms, she announced with pride. Departures to the left, you say? The check-in lady was open-mouthed. Thank you for your assistance, added Jenna, zipping the bag back up. I'll just carry these on. She took the dildos from Susan's shaking hands and thrust one in her left jacket pocket and one in her right, leaving the ends poking out like 2 cocks in a brothel. Coffee, she said with a nod of her head. Susan stumbled after her, unable to form her words properly. The blue one, she said, eyes fixed on the action. It's on. Jenna kept her pace brisk and her head high, ignoring the party in her pocket. Just walk, Susan, just walk. So that's the end of chapter 1. If you want to find out what happens to the party in the pocket, then go and check out my new novel, When You Know. Okay, thank you.